Hey everyone, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're going to look at the human mind through a totally different lens. We're going to treat it exactly like what it is, a profoundly complex, hyperactive power system. I want you to imagine your consciousness as an entity that's just constantly throwing out grappling hooks, desperately needing something to latch onto just to exist. It actually can't just float in an empty void. It demands a target. So today, we are going to map out exactly what those targets are, tracing a path all the way from our basic, everyday sensory world right up to the ultimate mysteries of life and death.
So let me ask you right now. Quick, what is your mind holding on to at this exact second? Is it the sound of my voice? Is it the screen sitting right in front of you? Or, maybe it's a lingering thought about what you're going to have for dinner. Well, whatever it is, that right there is the absolute core principle of the Abhidhamma's Compendium of objects. Your consciousness is always hanging on to something. Arc 1. The Sixth Sense Targets.
Okay, to really understand how this works, let's look at the primary battleground where your mind operates every single day. Literally, every single object grasped by your consciousness falls into just 6 specific categories. Now, on one side of this battlefield, we have the physical senses. You know these well: visible form, sound, smell, taste, and tangible things. The source text actually tells us there are exactly 46 types of consciousness associated with these 5 physical doors: your eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and body. But on the other side, we have the mental senses, and these are objects that bypass those 5 physical doors entirely.
And that brings up a really massive question. If those 46 physical consciousness types are busy scanning your physical environment, what happens when the object you're grasping isn't physical at all? Like, what happens when you're grabbing onto an idea, a distant memory, or a completely abstract concept?
Arc 2. The mental object realm, also known as Dhammaramana.
So this realm is essentially a hidden dimension. It's a much, much deeper level of reality where the usual physical rules just don't apply anymore. And in this mental realm, the targets are incredibly potent. We're talking about 21 elements of non-gross and sensitive matter. We're looking at all states of consciousness themselves, whether you count them as 89 or, depending on the system, 121. We have the 52 mental factors. We have all conventional realities. And most profoundly, this realm contains the ultimate super-mundane state of nibbana. So we're not just talking about everyday thinking here. This is the full, complete spectrum of reality that's available to the mind.
Arc 3. Consciousness Stats and Limits.
Here's where the power scaling of our mind's journey really kicks into high gear. Because it turns out, not every consciousness can grasp every object. There are strict rules, specific limits, and distinct tiers of mental power. The Abhidhamma classifies these limits into 4 specific folds, or planes, of objects. Basically, think of these as the strict boundary lines for our mental power levels. We have sensuous plane objects, mahagata objects, supermundane objects, and conventional reality objects. Let's break down exactly how our consciousness gets locked into these specific tiers.
Starting at the base level tier, we see there are exactly 25 types of consciousness completely locked to the sensuous plane. This includes 15 rootless, unwholesome, and wholesome resultants, 8 wholesome resultant consciousnesses, and even the 2 smile-producing and 5 door-adverting consciousnesses. These 25, they are strictly tethered to the sensuous world. They literally cannot punch above their weight class. But then, when we level up to the Mahagata tier, the whole game changes. Here, we only have 6 highly specialized consciousness types. And notice what their targets are: the literal infinity of consciousness and the infinity of neither perception nor non-perception. I mean, these are totally mind-bending, infinite targets. And only these 6 elite, highly specific consciousness types actually have the capacity to handle them.
Now, what is truly fascinating here is the ultimate tier, the supramundane specific objects. We have exactly 8 consciousnesses here. That's 4 path consciousnesses and 4 fruit consciousnesses. And these 8 interact exclusively with the ultimate supramundane object, nibbana. This is it, the absolute peak of the mind's specific targeted capability.
Okay, so we've mapped the physical doors, and we've mapped the specific mental objects. But I've got another quiz for you. What about the consciousness that operates entirely outside all of those doors? When your sensory door is completely shut down, what exactly is happening in the dark?
Arc 4. The Door-Freed Mystery. You see, when we completely strip away the eyes, the ears, and that active, noisy thinking mind, we're left with this rogue, underlying force that dictates our very existence. This is the concept of door-freed, or dwara vimuta. The source text reveals an ancient, profound secret here. There are 19 distinct consciousness types that perform the ultimate background functions of our existence. They don't use the eye door. They don't use the ear door. Instead, they operate completely behind the scenes to execute death, rebirth linking, and the life continuum, the Vawanga. These 19 types of consciousness literally control the ultimate cycle of life without relying on your standard senses at all.
So beneath the daily noise of sights, sounds, and all your active thoughts, there is this continuous, unbroken flow, a life continuum that seamlessly bridges one existence to the absolute next, entirely free from the sensory doors you usually identify with. But hold on, remember our very first rule from the beginning? Consciousness cannot float in a void. It absolutely must have a grappling hook latched onto a target. So, if this door-freed consciousness is triggering rebirth and it's not looking at physical objects, what exact target does it lock onto in those final moments?
Arc 5, Karma and Your Destiny.
This is where the stakes become absolute. The whole process builds as a terrifyingly logical, three-step sequential journey. You see, the door-freed consciousness aggressively latches onto one of three things when determining exactly where a being goes next. First, karma, the actual moral or immoral volition you performed. Second, karma nimitta, the objects, the tools, or the memories related to that specific moral or immoral action. Or, third, gati nimitta, the actual sign of your destiny, like a vision of the realm you are heading towards. Your daily choices literally forge the final target for your mind.
So, the absolutely crucial point to take away here is that your karma isn't just some abstract philosophical idea of cosmic justice. No, it is the raw, mechanical energy powering your door-freed consciousness right now. The moral and immoral volition you generate every day through learning, acting, and just living is quite literally manufacturing the grappling targets that your mind will eventually use to cross over into its next existence.
We've seen how the mind locks onto everyday senses, how it scales all the way up to the infinite, and ultimately, how it determines rebirth outside those sensory doors entirely. So I'm going to leave you with this final thought for today's explainer. Based on the exact volition you are generating right now, today, what will your gati nimitta be? Where is your current karma steering your ultimate destiny? Think about that for a while, and keep exploring.